Greetings, I am SupernovaBlade and welcome to another Stories in History video. To start off this video, I would like to ask a question to you, the viewer, the listener. How did you get into your hobbies and interests in the years? Do you know how I got into some of mine? School clubs and activities. So, with that put into play, that's what I had decided to make the main topic of this volume on. How joining school clubs has led me to an interesting path of, for lack of better terms, as the title suggests, how I became a weeaboo at the end of the day. It has to start somewhere, and that's what I'm here to talk about. But first, let's talk about the art that's going to be playing in the background. The art playing in the background is some fan art of Cast-Off I made several months ago. Last episode I showed the fan art of Frankie. With this episode, I'm showing off my fan art of the other four members of the main quintet. Since I already did Frankie, I also took it upon myself to make fan art of Vector, Ariana, Marina, and Rory. Now, with that out of the way, now on to the topic at hand. Despite my introvertedness I often mention about in my videos, I wasn't really that much of a dodger of activities throughout my schooling years, and my interest during those times would come and go as I grew up. When I was in elementary school, I wasn't really as much of an introvert as I am now, and I built quite a few friendships, and that has led to some strange things I'm going to say. You know what? F it. I'm just going to mention some of the strange things I did. I'm going to let the whole world know about this. Yes, I did once invite a girl to my house when I was in 3rd grade on a playdate. And yes, I did once persuade my other friend Jay, same one from the podcast episode, to watch My Little Pony. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Back to the topic at hand. In elementary school, I joined my school's prep orchestra. Well, actually, prep orchestra A, because we had two, because so many people joined orchestra. So we need to make two separate orchestras just to fit everyone. I played the cello. I don't even know why I decided to play the cello, I just did. That's all I can say about joining prep orchestra. However, unlike most of the cellists, or just strings players in general, I actually didn't stop playing after 1 year. Funny enough, prep orchestra A, the orchestra I was in, it was mostly violin and viola players, while more than half of prep orchestra B, the other orchestra, the one I was not in, were cello players. But when I started the following school year, all but one of the cellists in Prep Orchestra B quit, while every Prep Orchestra A cellist stayed another year when we were all entering the Advanced Orchestra, so most of the Advanced Orchestra was composed of students from Prep Orchestra A rather than Prep Orchestra B, or at least in the lower strings. In these rehearsals, we just played scales and it was very easy peasy with the pieces and the other stuff. Most of it came from the Essential Elements books. We had 2 concerts every year, one in the winter and one in the spring. This stayed that way for 3 years until I was heading to middle school. In that same year, I joined the Advanced Orchestra. One of the teachers at my elementary school started providing recess activities. There were 4 in particular that year: gaming, Rube Goldberg, Do the Cube, and drumming. We were only allowed to join 2 of these at the time. In the first year of this, I decided to join only one of these: gaming. Now, maybe you're thinking, how do you trust elementary schoolers to play with all these electronics? Well, here's the thing. There weren't electronics. Keep in mind, this was also before I got my own phone. Don't worry. This was before everyone in late elementary school had a smartphone. I didn't actually get my first smartphone until I turned 15. The gaming was referring to us just playing board games. That was it. The following year, gaming did not survive, but instead, I joined the Rube Goldberg activity. Our goal for this Rube Goldberg machine was to squeeze toothpaste on a toothbrush. I honestly don't remember much about what happened with the Rube Goldberg project, but I do have a small DVD of me and some other old friends testing it out. But let me just give some things I do remember, or just know because they were featured on that DVD that is somewhere in my bedroom, that we had to build this Rube Goldberg machine inside of a portable that I can only describe as a stink bug graveyard. I swear that every 2 feet of this portable had at least one dead stink bug. Nobody ever cleans it up either. Here's the funny thing. When we successfully finished making our Rube Goldberg machine to squeeze this tube of toothpaste, in the video, our machine killed another stink bug. I only remembered this because our team captain mentioned it in the video that was featured on the DVD, which was made an iMovie by just one adult and a bunch of 11-year-olds. So what would you expect? Another thing I remembered from the activity was our nickname was the Random Ravens. But in all honesty, what else are you going to call a bunch of kids who grew up in the Maryland suburbs? I was a fun lunatic during that time, and me and the rest of the group, we were damn well going to acknowledge the hell out of it. When I joined middle school, the whole orchestra thing was no longer its own side hustle, and was instead a class I was taking for my regular cycle of classes yearly. I also was not in clubs that just played board games or building Rube Goldberg machines. Instead of the clubs and stuff acting as small recess alternatives, in my middle school, they were known as enrichment seminars, and they were handled by one teacher in particular. I don't even remember what most of the enrichment seminars were nowadays, other than the two that I was in. The only one other than the two that I joined that I remembered existing was the debate seminar. Basically, with these enrichment seminars, we would spend a little bit of time off of whatever class we were at to do whatever topic the seminar had. The two that I joined were movie making and green team. I don't think I ever mentioned it on my channel or anything, but when I was younger, I wanted to make movies and maybe also become an animator. Hell, I even tried around that time to get into animating Minecraft animations in Blender, just like what Black Bottom Studios was doing around the time, but I ran into way too many pitfalls along the way that were preventing me from doing that. The main animation I made in that first year of doing movie making was made in this nice little program that some people might have heard of called Go Animate. Well, Go Animate for schools, that is. It actually wasn't the first time I used Go Animate earlier that year, because I also used it in a science class to create a lab safety video. All I remembered about that was that mine was significantly longer than everyone else's, and the text-to-speech voices that the program provided were, really bad. Laughably bad. But anyway. With this small animation, I created a movie with the topic of environmental attention or something like that. So I made a small animation of a bunch of students and their teacher going on a field trip to a tree, only for this dumb other teacher, who was kind of a douche to the field trip teacher, hiding in a tree after ripping up her papers and being a jerk, but then he gets arrested or something like that. I don't frickin' know. It wasn't good, okay? It was middle schooler work, and it showed. I'm not sure if that animation still exists anywhere, since I don't even know if Go Animate for School still exists as of when I'm recording this. But if it doesn't, then that's just lost media. However, my favorite thing that we did during the movie making enrichment seminars were the field trips. They were the best parts, and they weren't even memorable or anything. Basically, we had two in my first year we were doing the seminar. The first was to a university that was about an hour or so away from my middle school, but I'm not going to say what it is, just so I don't dox myself. At this university, we were given a tour of the film and television area, and learned more about how to make great film, or something like that, I don't know. The most memorable thing about the trip was when I messed around on one of the computers and drew a shitty version of our school mascot. It just goes to show how much it was memorable, aka, it wasn't memorable at all. Yet I still liked it. In all honesty, I have always really enjoyed taking field trips to college campuses from before I actually became a college student. The other field trip that I took during my time in the movie making seminar was a trip to a movie theater that we took when our movies were finally complete. Now, unfortunately, what this teacher did not tell us, or at least didn't tell me, was that the people who made little animated movies for their projects were not going to be shown at this field trip to the theater. Only the live-action shot movies were being featured, and they were basically what you'd expect from a bunch of middle schoolers making a movie in iMovie or whatever the hell we were using. Yet, despite that, I still found it very interesting watching what us and the other students from the other schools made. Of course, it was all having to do with recycling and saving the planet and that kind of thing. But I can't deny, some of these kids sure as well had talent with their storytelling and the like. The movie from a student from another school that stood out the most to me was from a school that a friend I had who was a transfer made, and, well, they went batshit crazy with the memes, and their movie, while at the same time doing what they could with the theming of recycling, and oh my god, it's absolutely insane! Complete with MLG no-scopes and 420 blazes, and hell, even an Eddie Wally wow to end it off. That's right, I got to see all those memes on the big screen. Tell me something cooler, I dare you. I swear that one field trip alone made me glad I joined the movie making seminar alone. I'm pretty sure that I joined the seminar again the next year, but other than the college campus tour, I legitimately remembered absolutely nothing about it. So, moving on. The other enrichment seminar I joined was the school's green team. This seminar I joined only in my final year of middle school, and in all honesty, there isn't too much to say about this seminar. This one always happened during first period, meaning that it was happening at 8 in the morning when my brain hadn't yet woken up completely. All we did during that seminar was just bring a giant-ass recycling bin that rolled on wheels into the hallways and go around to every single classroom and barge into the classes unannounced and take the recycling bins and put them in this big bin, so an underpaid teacher can just be teaching about Shakespeare or how the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell or every famine that's happened in Africa, and then me or someone else in the green would be all like, hippity hoppity, your recycling is now my property, and then leave with the recycling like I wasn't just breaking and entering into a classroom without the permission from the teachers. Okay, well, it wasn't actually like that, but damn it, I find it more fun to describe it like that, so let me explain it like that. Honestly, that's all we really did in Green Team. As someone who wanted to just dodge bullies or just not interact with people at all, I mostly kept silent, I think, while other more social people spoke and did social things. I was just there to collect recycling. Simple as. It wasn't anything huge. The only other thing I remember from doing this was that one time, for some reason, I don't even know why they were doing this, but these two girls were doing something. I don't even know why we were doing this in the middle of the seminar. I think this information might be a bit foggy, because again, this was several years ago. But if I recall correctly, these two girls, I think, were trying to see which of the two of them would kick their leg into the air the highest. At least that's what it looked like. One of the times they did it, however, they did it a little too close for comfort to me, and if I wasn't so far ahead distance-wise, they probably would have kicked me square in the nuts. But that could easily just be a false memory, but it's still funny to think about. It sure gives quite the visualization for sure. Haha, I don't know, maybe they were trying to see which of the two of them would be more fit to be a can-can dancer in the future. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Once I left middle school and went on to high school, I wasn't really someone who was super active in many extracurricular activities. But there was one I was very active in, which was recommended to me by some faculty member back when I first joined. This extracurricular in particular was Theater Stage Crew, and here's the thing. I'm not really going to mention anything about this extracurricular in this video since all of my stories with Theater Stage Crew can easily be a video of their own, and that would make this video way too long. So I'm just going to keep it as its own separate video that I'll make in the future. It won't be the next video, but it will come whenever I get around to making it. The only other main extracurricular I did was known as just orchestra. It's different from the instrumental class of string ensemble that I took in all my years of high school. So, here's the thing about orchestra. It was rather interesting in my first year. After my first year, it sucked. Basically, orchestra as an extracurricular activity was a combination of the string students and some of the students from the higher band ensemble. Here, we did a lot of movie pieces and full orchestral pieces. It was held every Wednesday right after school and was managed by the strings teacher. We played some nice pieces around that time like Blue Tango, Jupiter, Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack, and many others. However, after the first year, our strings teacher left to relocate back to his hometown, and we got a new teacher who, as I would find out later, basically killed the extracurricular. She always canceled rehearsals at incoherent times and was overall very unorganized. However, my final year of doing orchestra was above all the other years the absolute worst of this extracurricular and gave me the realization that this extracurricular was about to meet its demise. Since my final year of high school was the C19 school year, and she was already easily canceling rehearsals left and right, you might see where this is going. Or maybe you don't. Our first rehearsal was outside on a very windy day, under a tent, and everyone's music kept getting blown away. Despite this, the rehearsals were still being held on Wednesdays at the same time, and sometimes I would have to only go to school just for that, and if it got canceled last minute, then what the hell's the point? It's just executed so poorly that it just frustrates me to no end. Oh, and by the way, we still had to perform these pieces when we had almost no time to work on them before the concert, and no time to perform them as a group. Lack of preparation, lack of togetherness, lack of care. No wonder this didn't survive after she left, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the new instructor only works part-time and had to spend a lot of time caring for a sick child. During this final concert fiasco, it was a fiasco, I'll explain. We had to perform both Egmont Overture and Spagna Canny. Both of them were atrocious performances of what could have been beautiful pieces to play. It's because of this careless instructor. I'm just gonna say it. I am going to say it without a care in the world. I remember hitting that last note of Spagna Canny way too early because nobody knew where the hell we were supposed to be, because we basically never rehearsed the damn thing together, as I just mentioned before. I just said to myself either, oh shit, or oh I don't even remember which one. I just remember I swore under my breath. And, oddly enough, my mother and my grandfather were sitting right in front of me when I said that, and neither of them even noticed. And also, this is a Christian school! Anyway, so the shit show that was orchestra was not the only time I was doing an extracurricular in my senior year of high school. I was also in the string sextet. It kinda sucked, but the Mozart piece was fun to play. Moving right along here. Now, I have mentioned the final high school extracurricular that I did, and what was the main topic mentioned in both the title and thumbnail of this video. It's time to talk about the anime club at my high school. Well, this was hardly that much of a club in all honesty. It was just that one of the math teachers, whenever she wasn't grading math papers, would just take the projector in her classroom and put on some anime to watch before she left to go home. Oddly enough, I discovered this by accident because of how her classroom was right across from my locker in my sophomore year, and after a bit of time, I took notice of it, and I would sometimes come in to see what it was all about. I eventually found out that this classroom was where the anime club had their meetings. It was pretty simple. The president of the club would come in and we could vote on what anime to watch, which of course needed to be appropriate for the school, which is weird to say considering that this math teacher would put on 7 Deadly Sins at the end of the school day. I only remember a handful of the anime we watched in the club. I remember we watched Yu-Gi-Oh!, Banana Fish, Nichijou, Nuyasha, Sword Art Online, and a few others I can't name off the top of my head. On other days, we would play some games, anime related or not. We played the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, or Anime Hangman, or Anime Charades, stuff like that. We also play stuff like Street Fighter or Super Smash Bros., even though those aren't anime games per se. It was very fun. I damn well enjoyed my time there, but after my sophomore year, the president graduated and the math teacher, I think, left the school and the anime club was not able to stay alive, and nobody did anything to try to revive it. I remember in my senior year, we had the whole club showing thing in the auditorium, and the anime club was just a blank table with a paper that just said anime club on it. So after the president graduated, the anime club in my high school was basically dead. Even before joining the club, I was starting to get a little more educated about anime stuff through my online friends and watching videos about it on YouTube. Despite that, my interest in anime was starting to heighten when I had graduated, and I knew that if there was an anime club at my college, I damn well knew I was going to join it. And I did. Now, before then, I would like to briefly go over the 3 other school clubs I'm currently in at university before I get to the main course. First one is the LGBTQ club, where we make arts and crafts and talk about the spectrum and hang out with other identifiers and allies. Sometimes we have events such as drag shows and a retreat where we learn about queer culture that I only went on my first year, but who knows, that might change after I make this video. Another club I joined my first year was the Rocket League Club, which, here's the thing, I don't play Rocket League competitively. I play casually for fun. but there, we just play some rounds and talk about stuff. Some challenges here and there. It's part of our esports team, which I'm not actually part of. I mostly come for the atmosphere. The final club I'm in is the school newspaper, which I joined this past fall, and as of when I type this, I have 2 of my articles published. I have one about a drag show, and one is an opinion piece about the layout of conventions. But I have a 3rd one in the works as of when I'm recording this. The topic that I'm planning on doing is another opinion piece about class requirements of watching movies exclusive to streaming services. Long story short, I'm not a fan of them. Finally, back onto the main topic of the video. I, of course, joined the anime club at my university at the start of my freshman year, and I tried to attend as many of the meetings as I could. The premise was about the same as it was in high school, but we had more stuff we could get away with. Well, comparatively at least. Flashback to the Spice and Wolf incident from my first year. Yeah, that one might have been a little too ecchi for my university, and sorry that we disturbed the club board with that one. Okay, I didn't vote for that one, okay? I still hold this against our current president because he was the one who originally voted for it. No hate to Spice and Wolf. It's just something that I look back on and feel amused about it. It was just a silly little oopsie-doodle pulled off by our current president that resulted in an apology needing to be sent in the group me. I am on the club board as of when I'm recording this, and my role is to scream at everyone via email to get them to go to our meetings. Sometimes we host other events such as karaoke nights, arts and crafts, and our 2 biggest events, the Barnes & Noble manga raid we do every spring, and the convention we do every fall. And that's basically the main synopsis of how the anime club at my university runs. So, with all of that completely addressed, that is where I'm going to be ending this saga of school clubs and how it led me to be in charge of yelling at people via an email to go watch anime and hang out with the other weeaboos. In other words, that's how I went from making Rube Goldberg machines that killed stink bugs to being an anime secretary. Before I end off, I want to ask, if you're a fellow weeaboo as well, how did you get into anime? If you enjoyed my content, perhaps give this video a like, or a comment, or subscribe to my channel, or as I always call it, the whole shebang. If you liked the art that was playing in the background of this video, it'll be featured in the description below for your viewing. Thank you for watching this video. This has been SupernovaBlade, and goodbye.